What's up, everyone? All right, so in today's episode, I'm gonna break down all of my trades from the morning. I'm sitting here in the green, up $32,105.30. I traded 5 different stocks. I'm green on 3 out of the 5. But today, like many other days this week, was not easy. I sort of struggled. So first trade right out of the gates, made some good money. And then a second trade, I added a little more profit. And then on the third stock I traded, I ended up giving back about half of what I made. And I was like, man, and it was over the course of 3 losses. It wasn't just one trade. It was like I got in and I lost. I got back in, I lost again. I got back in a third time and I was like, wow, this is unreal. And I started feeling frustrated. At that point, I was like, you know what, guys, I'm done. I'm just not feeling it. And so I walked away. I took a little break. And then I came back. I sat down. I continued watching charts, and we can look at my P&L here. And when I came back, we really didn't have anything that looked that much better. And so I just sort of thought, all right, well, I think my day is done. And then all of a sudden we had this news on SLXN announcing new preclinical data showing up to 97% inhibition of cancer cell growth. So, all of a sudden the stock squeezes up 100%. I jumped in after the first halt on a little dip and rip at about 15.90, and it went up to a high of $21.78, and I made $16,000. Nice. So that puts me back up towards my high a day, 32,000. PBM is the one that got me for $15,000 in the red, and I lost 3,000 on SGNX as well, which is a little annoying since it's her leading gainer. It's up over 100%, but it may not surprise you to know that I'm red on it, because you know that I usually don't do as well trading these types of stocks that are cheaper, and the problem is they don't move fast enough. Yes, in total it's gone up a lot, but just individually on each 1 minute candle, the range isn't big enough for me to do well on. So, all right, let's go back to the beginning of the day. I sat down this morning, and one of the first stocks I saw was ONCO. This is a stock that had squeezed up here from 350 up to 6 early pre-market. It, as you can see, is a very low float. It's a U.S. company. And so on this one, I thought, all right, U.S. biotech stock squeezing up, this could work. But unfortunately, by 7 a.m., which is when we're sitting down to start trading, as most retail traders can't trade before 7, it was already pulling back. So I was like, well, that's not going to work. Then we had, there was another one on here. Let's see. Maybe it's on one of these other scans now. It's dropped down a little bit. Let me see. It might not be on the scans because it's pulled back too much, but yeah, I think it dropped too much. Anyways, there was another stock that had popped up and pulled back. So that one was unfortunately out of play. And so I kind of thought, well, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, YMAT starts popping up. YMAT, Chinese IPO from yesterday. Now, this was a risky trade. There's no question about it. Yesterday it IPO'd, pulled back, and it started popping up here, and I got in at 5. And this thing goes to 550, to 6, to 650, to 7, to 750, boom, up to about 8. I bought 18,000 shares by the time I was fully in, and I ended up making a little under $2 a share. That's not bad. Unfortunately, as you can see, it didn't hold up. So this is where I started to feel like, all right, not great. So what's going to be next? Are we going to get something that is obvious? The challenge this week is I do the best trading leading gainers, but they need to stay the leading gainer. This was the leading gainer, and then it was no longer the leading gainer because it dropped back down. So the next stock that I ended up trading was PAPL. And PAPL ended up holding up, kind of well over the morning. It's pulled back a little bit now. But where I jumped in it squeezed up, it pulled back, and then when it came back up here, I got in for this curl back up, and we squeezed from about $4.40 up to about $5. So on that one, I made about $3,900, and at that moment peaked at $34,000 in the green on the day, and that was at about 7:32. And I could have stopped there, and I would have been better off for it. But you never know. And so on the next trade, I got in PBM. Now, PBM initially pops and reverses. And this one got me really frustrated. So on my first trade on at 737, let's see. So first trade was right in this candle here. And I got in it as it squeezed up here, and I got in way too high, up around 850. It drops down, and immediately I lost $5,000. So I was like, ugh, all right, well, but I was a little quick to jump in it, and that was a risky move. It dips down, and then it rips back up here, but I just felt nervous. I was like, I don't know if I can trust this. So, I end up getting back in it at about, what was it? I think it was about 750. I think I got back in like, kind of right in this area. And then it drops back to 730 and I got out. And then a moment later it rips. So while it's ripping, I switched gears to SGNX or SNGX. I was like, you know what? That stock is just too difficult. And I got in it right here. And look at that rejection. So I ended up losing $3,100 on that one. And then PBM, next thing I know, is back up at $9 a share. So I get in up here for the break at 10 and big jackknife. So like this stock, I just could not get on the right side of. So I had 3 or maybe 4 losses on it and ended up being down $15,000 on this stock. Down $3,000 on SGNX. Both profit on PAPL and profit on YMAP, I was up $15,000 on the day. But I'd given back half my gains. So I was like, I think I'm done. I thought that was it for me. And then SLXN is halted with news. So it pops up right here on news and is halted up. Now, when it resumed, I was watching. It was showing a resumption of about $15.95 right up here. It resumes. It dips for just a moment. And as it breaks over this level, I got in 5,000 shares at $15.90. I punched it. I'm in. It goes up to $17.25 and I sell all but 600 shares. I knew that trade was high risk. I knew taking a trade at that time of day was high risk because I'd already given back half my profit. Trading out of a halt, even though it has news, can work well, but doesn't always work. Today wasn't a day where I had a big cushion. So I was taking some risk on that. And I was asking myself, I was like, should you take that trade? Because if you lose on it and then you go to up only 7,000 on the day, I think you're going to be pretty upset. And in hindsight, to be honest, I probably shouldn't have taken the trade. The downside risk was greater than the upside reward. Yes, I made $16,000, but if I'd lost, I would have been really upset and disappointed with myself. So in hindsight, I shouldn't have taken this trade. But in any case, I did take it right there, down here, got out right here. It ends up popping up here, halts a second time. And then it dips down and I bought right down here. It pops back up to here and made a little bit more profit and then it drops down and halts down. So in total, $16,000 is very good. I'm pleased with the gain, but today was not a super clean day. And so at this point, today is day 3 of recovery. I lost $58,000 on Monday. I made $7,000 on Tuesday, so still down 51 on the week. I made $13,000 yesterday, so still down $38,000 on the week. And now today I'm up $32,000. So I'm still down $6,000 on the week. I have nothing to show for this week. I have no profit. But I still have the day tomorrow. And I show up every single day. So I'll be back at it bright and early Friday morning. And I'm going to try to, have a couple of decent trades. And I think there's a really good chance that I'll be able to finish tomorrow in the green and probably more than $6,000. I would say at the least, if I can have a decent green day, I'll be somewhere between $15,000 and $25,000, which will put me back to green on the week. And it'll be the first day of the new month. So tomorrow I will also reveal where I finished for the month of July. We'll total it all out. We'll look at my metrics. This last week, hasn't done much to contribute. It obviously has only hurt, both in total dollar, but also accuracy, profit loss ratio. So it's going to hurt the metrics a bit for July, but it's still been a really good month and I'm up over $1 million. So I feel really grateful and, I'm going to live to trade another day. So I'll be back at it bright and early tomorrow morning. We're going to start the new month off, get it hopefully to a really great start. And that's where my head is at right now. So that's it for me. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. And a reminder, trading is risky, easy come, easy go. My results aren't typical. So please manage your risk, take it slow, and always practice in a simulator before putting real money on the line. All right, I'll see you tomorrow morning.